It was just my computer just refused to play with the video card. It's like, come on, video card, turn on that. I had to intimidate it with fear. Actually, no, I ended up begging. That's what ended up
Begging that
happening. Yeah.
that usually works better, doesn't it?
Well, you try to intimidate it with fear because you're feeling really annoyed. It's like, why aren't you working? And then suddenly it's just, and then you realize like it really doesn't matter what I do to this thing. It just doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
I know.
You can swear on my podcast, by the way. So I only have 2 rules, just 2. Don't be a bigot, and if you're gonna be a dick, be an entertaining one. Is that fair?
That sounds good.
Yeah, right. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thanks. Good. How are you?
Better now that it's
You're
working.
better. You can take a breath, right?
Yeah, no. So for those people watching, listening, we were a mutual guest on a similar show. Chantal is a writer and a podcaster in her own right.
No, I think that's a stretch. I mean, yeah, I think the podcaster piece is quite a stretch. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay, but writer for sure.
Writer for sure.
Because I remember us being on a podcast one a while ago.
Yeah. We were on. What was it? Continual, right?
Yes. Yeah. I actually talk to tons of people. I have a big mouth problem. So, yeah, that's just me. But anyway, no. Yeah. So since we last talked, what have you been up to?
Well, so I've just been writing, right? Yeah, that's it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No,
well, I was going to say Susan Scott Shelley and I, we co-write together, and she was on that podcast with us when we met. And yeah, so we just are finishing up our Love and Rugby series and making plans for what we're writing next year, and that's basically.
I've just been making stuff. I'm sorry, right? It doesn't sound that cool, but except it actually is kind of like honestly, you put a lot of work into any work you do, right? Like it's one of those things that like it doesn't sound boring. Bullshit. It's not that it's not boring. You're excited about it. You had to be. You wrote about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've written. So I can't remember. When were we on that? Was that like earlier in the? I mean, it was earlier in the year, but I can't remember when.
I'm going to assume March-ish.
Was it
March-ish? We're gonna say ish. It could have been It could have been a little earlier. I think we were just getting over the height of the Omicron hysteria.
That's how we tell time, is by what strand.
That's well. I mean, I don't think we're gonna be quite in the same urgency with COVID. I think COVID's like as a virus is going to be around, but it again, if you look at it statistically, it's nowhere near like what it was.
Oh my gosh, no,
not even close. Not even close. So it's. I mean, COVID's going to exist probably for at least the next 5 to 6 years, but let's be honest, it's not. It's no longer the big. I'm big. It's not. People think still it's a boogeyman, but if you look at it, it's not. You'll still get sick, but it's past the point of it's gonna kill you in all likelihood anyway.
Yeah, if you take the precautions.
No, but even below that, like you go by the World Health Organization's numbers. You guys,
but I mean, like vaccinations are like helping. I mean, like all of that, like I think helps, so that we're protecting ourselves and protecting others who can't protect themselves.
Yeah, but I'm like what I'm going to say is like it's not, like I said, it's not the boogeyman anymore. It's there and it will be there, but it's. So I think we're going to start tallying time in other ways. I mean, yeah, like next, like I'm projecting an economic crash next year. So I'm just like that. I think is going to be our new way of telling them. Where are we in the pre-housing, post-house? Like that's like I a novel I read, and I almost do believe this, is we have a tendency to have a short-term memory when it comes to crises. Like we'll go from one crisis to the next, and we'll be like, we're no longer worried about the old crisis. We're in this crisis. I'm not sure that's a healthy way of looking at things, but a lot of people do that.
And I
Yeah.
think because when you're in crisis, you are in basically survival mode, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like whatever that crisis is, you're just trying to like survive. So you don't have the time. It's like almost it's almost a luxury to be able to like when you're in the midst of a crisis to be able to sit back and go, oh well, when this was happening, because you're just trying to get through this crisis. So I think that's kind of how our brains
Yeah.
function. Um,
I just think just because we have a tendency to I think there's a certain degree of flow of crises together. I think there just comes a point where maybe I'm just maybe an old and curmudgeonly dude. I'm just like, there's this like pattern of we go from one crisis to the next. No. Okay, I thought I froze there for a
you
second
did
and
freeze for a second, but you're okay
just
now.
yeah. It's like, oh no. But no, yes, technology. We're doing the technological edition of Just Josh and Live Folks. No, but what I've noticed is like we have this tendency to go from one crisis to the next. And I have to think that, and this is just how I've kind of I've taken this approach. My first apocalypse for me personally was 2008. So
Hmm.
after that, like I no longer have the same, even during COVID, because I've already kind of seen my own mortality in the face. It didn't
Hmm.
hit me the same way. I stopped, and I know this seems this almost like a stoic perspective of I recognize that there are always going to be things beyond my control.
Yeah.
And since I always recognize that things are always going to be beyond my control, what's the point of panicking? Right.
Hmm.
And then at that point when you can actually do that, now you're no longer thinking from crisis to crisis. You're like, well, this is today, and then this is tomorrow, and
Hmm.
then this is tomorrow. And suddenly the tension just pops. Right. And I maybe I'm crazy, right? But that's
No,
just
no, I don't think so. I mean, and I think, I mean, I think too, it depends on like what the crisis is, right? Like um, but yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I totally
yeah.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get me life is always gonna be ups and downs. Like that's
Mhm.
just life. I just think that comes a point too with all of us where it's just like, okay, tomorrow I mean a tornado might magically touch down and transport me to Oz. It is possible. I'm a big enough man. It's like I'm an open-minded enough person to realize that tomorrow something strange might come out of nowhere. It's like, well, I guess I'm off to Oz or wherever the fuck this thing's gonna take me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? And you have to accept it. Like that, like there's a certain healthiness to that. And it's
Mhm.
just like, I'm this, the world is this, and me trying to bring control into this concept is at the best of times silly. Maybe a bit of a survival mechanism too. I get that to some degree, but just like, you know, if I can just accept that things are beyond, by and large, the only thing I control is my approach to anything that comes my way.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a my
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
right. If that's the case, then I can eliminate a lot of the flight or fight things, except for like the most really urgent. Like for example, if suddenly a whole bunch of zombies with pitchforks came at me, now I might be in a little bit more of a fight or flight in that moment because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm calm, but I'm not that crazy, right? That's kind of like how I see it. It's just like there's a how do I put this? Uh,
Well, it's like you were saying, like the only thing you can control is how you react to a situation, is how you react. So if zombies are coming with pitchforks, your reaction is going to be, I need to get out of here. So you're going to leave. You're not going to say, hey, come and have some tea. Like, that's just not going to be the reaction that
no, and I may
is
need a new pair. I may need a new pair of underwear too. I won't tell
right.
you. I'll be the first to acknowledge that I am not. All right, right. And that's the thing, right? I've come to this point of like, if we're always in crisis and we're always thinking in those terms,
Mhm.
it's just not healthy for us either. Like there just comes a point where it's just like, okay, this is fucked up. Okay, now how do I deal with the rest of my day?
Right.
Right? Is that am I on something or am I on to something?
No, that's absolute. I mean, that's absolute. Like, in my previous life, I was a social worker, and I actually worked with people who were in crisis. I worked with families and individuals who were homeless, and like that's, you know, it, it is like, you know, I mean, it's very much like, okay, like how do we, you know, how can you how do you react to this situation, and how are we going to deal with this situation? You can react in like, oh my God, like I'm, you know, again, like this is or you can say, okay, this sucks. And now how am I moving forward? What can I do to,
Yeah.
you know, do X, Y, and Z?
And one thing I will say to anybody listening or watching this, right, is this: yes, it's perfectly natural to want to swear, you know, like have a reaction in that moment, and it's okay to embrace that.
Mhm.
Just don't stay there.
Well, it's normal. I mean,
Yeah,
it's normal to,
yeah,
you know, have a reaction, and, you know, I mean, that is absolutely normal.
yeah.
But, you know, like you said, kind of living in crisis that takes a lot of energy.
It does. No,
Takes a
I
lot of energy, and it's not healthy.
no, it seems like a lot of work, and
Mhm.
I know this might seem like a contrary, but I'm a lazy fucker. That's why I get so much work done, right? Because it's just like it's like I'm trying to figure out the fastest, most efficient way to do it, so I can not kill myself because I'm too old for that shit. Like that's just like when you're younger, you're like I can do it all, and then you realize when you get to my age, it's like yes, you can still do it all. Do you really want to?
Yeah, I
You're laughing 'cause
it's
it's
tough. I know,
yeah.
getting older is whew.
Well, it's just I'm actually have enjoyed it. Like by and large, I've enjoyed it because here's the thing: I've gotten calmer ish, right? I've gotten calmer. I've become wiser ish. We'll just put a lot. There's a lot of issues, by the way, attached to this,
Yeah.
right? I have come to terms with the fact that I am at peace with my own like limitations, mortalities, and you get to a certain point where you're like,
Yeah.
I'm really good now. I still can change. It's a little harder at 41 than it was at 21, right?
Oh,
When I
you're 41. Oh, baby, you're just a baby still. You're just a baby still.
how old? I'm afraid
I
to ask. How old are you?
I am 51. So
You don't.
you are still a baby. 40s were
I,
great.
Yeah, no. Oh no, 40s are great. I think even 50s are gonna be fun too. I like actually my big terror when I get to your age. By the way, you look great. Like straight up. Like I would not have guessed you at 50 at all. I had you.
Oh.
I no, like legit. I had you at like 35.
See, oh, mwah, mwah, mwah.
I legit had you at 35.
And I legit now love you. So there
Yes.
we go.
Yeah, yes. Right. So, all right. No, I say it like that because it's just one of those things is like I've watched my dad get older, and
Mhm.
there's a point of he got really angry at the world. I think I'm past that. I think a little bit of anger is healthy because let's be honest. The world we've built, and I'm not going to get like political or anything, but the world we built outside is kind of fucked up if you really sit
Mhm.
there and look at it. I think if you're not pissed off at it or if you're very accepting of it, I'm a little worried about you. I think a little of that anger is a good thing, but at the same time, you don't give a shit. And it's a glorious thing. And I'm at that point now. So when I get older, I feel like I might be the guy you hear about on the road that's just doing crazy shit because he just doesn't care anymore. And I'm a little worried about that, but I'm also oddly looking forward to it too. It's kind of like I'm one of those like, how far can I get away with this? On the same time, maybe I shouldn't. Fuck it. Like there's a little like all three of those are in my head. It's like, is
Yeah.
that normal?
Oh yeah, there's definitely I mean, I've always had I don't have a I don't do bullshit well, so I've never had a great tolerance for bullshit. And I find that as I get older, my tolerance level
It drops.
decreases
No.
even more and more. I mean, like, you know, I didn't have much of a tolerance at 20, but at, you know,
Well,
at
see,
50, I'm like, I will just like call someone on it immediately and just be like, I can't, like, I just can't.
well, no. See, here's the difference. See, at 20, you think it's okay. There's a part of you that thinks this is how the world works. Then you realize that then there's a magical point in your life you just realize I don't have to do this. Like when
Mhm.
it hits that epiphany hits,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like Oh my God. Wait, I don't have to do this bullshit?
Yeah, and I do feel like that's, like, kind of your 40s. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
feel, because I feel like your 20s is, like, trying to figure out who, like, well, no, your 20s is, you know everything, and then in your 30s, you realize that you don't know everything, and then you're, like, still trying to figure out, like, who you are. In your 40s, like, yeah, you're like, "Okay, like, I am not, like, I don't need any of this garbage. I'm not going to put up with any of this." It's just,
Oh,
yeah, it is interesting. I do think that, yeah, that really comes like in your 40s.
so 20s, this is how I see it. I see 20s. 20s is you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah,
30s,
and you think you know everything, like
yeah,
really.
yeah, no, yeah, that no, that could, okay, depending on what you decide to do with your life, that gets beaten out of you early or like there's at in your 20s, at some point in your 20s, you kind of face a crucible of you can't be this anymore. Right? Right. There's a crucible. And and
Yeah, no,
some
yeah,
people
yeah, yeah,
some people make it to their 30s before they get there, but most of us it's our 20s, right?
yeah.
Right. And in our 20s, it's like, okay, so you can't be this anymore. You must grow up somewhat. In my 30s, it's about making peace with myself.
Mhm.
That's what I found in the 30s. So 30s about, okay, don't be quite a dick about yourself. Let it go and be okay with who you are.
Mhm.
And in your 40s, you're like, now you're looking at the rest of the world. What the fuck am I gonna actually tolerate with the rest of you? And then I don't know, like I have not hit 50, but I
Yeah.
imagine 50 is like an
A little
amped
bit
up.
more.
It's
Yeah,
an
a little
amped
bit
up
more than
version. It's an amped up version of 40. It's like I'm almost gonna say it's like, okay, I just don't have time for you motherfuckers anymore. I'm just I
yeah,
like I'm going to, if it's important or if it's a legit reason, I will give you grace. Right? But if
yeah.
you don't have a legit reason, I'm going to just give you the finger and I'm going to go do anything else I want to do.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, there's not a lot, yeah, there's not a lot that, yeah, I don't have a lot of tolerance for a lot of stuff.
Well, no, and you shouldn't. Like you've seen it, you've seen it all. You've seen it come and go. Like we could disagree about things, and we can have like a discussion about things,
Mhm,
and that's one thing,
mhm.
right? But another thing, that's one thing, but it's another to like if I was deliberately trying to fuck with you, you would just probably kill me. I mean, you're at that point. At that point, it's like you'd be like, "That's it. I'm done. Moving on."
Yeah, I will just disengage. Like, yeah, I mean, and it is interesting. Like, so I have friends who are like who are your age, who are 10 years younger than me. And it's interesting to hear some of the things that like they get like caught up in. And I'm like, and I like look at them and I'm like, why are you even like, why are you still dealing with that? Like, just like tell them, like, it's interesting. But then I like think back and I'm like, oh, but when I was I
Mhm.
would have still been dealing with it. Like it
Well,
it really is, it is interesting to see.
Well, okay, so I came so that, like this is like a lesson I learned this year. I came back to Calgary because I had friends here to reconnect with.
Mhm,
And the funny thing that's happened now, part of this is because we were still in a weird time zone for the first half of the year
mhm.
or first quarter, I'll say for sure, right? First quarter of the year. Um, but what I found was like I haven't seen hardly any of them. And I legitimately just realized that, and this is something I just realized, I don't have the luxury to wait for people to get their own shit together. I got my own things to do, and if you can't figure this out, then I ain't even gonna bother with you. And
Mhm.
that might sound very callous,
Well,
but
no, I think it's setting boundaries. I really do.
yeah,
I think it's
mhm,
it's setting boundaries, and it doesn't mean that, like,
yeah,
if they do get their shit
yeah.
together and, that you would, it doesn't mean that you wanna be like, "Okay, great." But I think it is setting boundaries. It is saying, like, "You know what? I don't have the space in my life for this right now, so, I'm not
Well,
going to waste that energy when I can be putting that energy elsewhere." And I mean, I don't think there's any, I mean, I think it's really good to set strong
no, no, no,
boundaries,
no. It's a real boundary.
I mean,
I like someone. Someone just like, yeah, I haven't been social, but it's been me. It's like, okay, that's wonderful, but like, she's like, I want another year like this. It's like, well, I guess we're not going to see each other then. She's
Mhm.
like, oh, we'll see each other in the future. It's like, will we? I'm not so sure we will, actually.
Mhm.
Right. So I just thanked her for her time, I think. And then it's like, that's all you can do, really. And just move on. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
And,
sorry. Go
and,
ahead.
and I realized, and I do realize with her personally, maybe she needs this time. And that's the other thing I do
Mhm.
realize too. And that's totally fair. But it's like, I'm not going to wait for everybody to get. I'm going to live life, and if you want to be a part of it, great. If you don't,
Mhm.
that's okay too. I'm just not going to wait for the hemming and hawing of it now. That's what I don't have time for. Either you're
Yeah.
in or you're out, and
Mhm.
I really don't care which. Just pick one.
Right, right. And I think, I think oftentimes too, like with friendships, I feel like so often we feel like, oh, like we need to like maintain these friendships for
Mm,
like,
mhm.
for eternity. But I always look at it as like, there are people that come into our lives when we need something, like, like they may come into our life like at a particular point in our life.
Mhm.
And then, and they may need something from us, it's a
Oh, yeah, oh,
mutual,
sure.
and then you just kind of grow, and like they may no longer need you may, and that's fine, like because you can look at that friendship and be like, well, you know what, it was really great during, and there are some friendships that are going to last that eternity, but I think I
Oh,
always feel
those are
like
tiny.
they are very tiny, but I
Yeah.
always feel like, I mean, this is what I'm always telling like my kids are teens, so I'm always like kind of like, like you may not necessarily like have these friends your entire life, like
Oh,
that's okay, like it's okay, you'll meet people will come in and out of your life, you'll go in and out of people's lives, and that's okay because you all are getting something out of it, for whether
oh
it's you're
yeah.
learning something or like whatever. So yeah, I think it's okay,
Oh,
you don't.
no, it's actually I think actually the only thing I would say to that is I think what people take for granted is also I think to some degree is that they're always going to have time to reconnect, and that's just
Mhm,
the magic thing. You don't, right?
mhm,
You have, and again, it's not wrong to let a friendship go, right? It's not. It sometimes you have to recognize that your friends or the people in your life, like if they really, 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 really are meant to be there, they're going to like, they will find ways to be there. And if they decide, and if they're not meant to be there, they will also find ways not to be there.
mhm.
There's literally it's
Yeah,
both, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
right. And people are going to do what they want. And
Mhm,
that's not, and when I say that, some people get really annoyed at me, but it's like, it's like you're doing what you want. And that's not, and that's not a bad thing as long as you're honest about it,
mhm.
right? There's really
Yeah.
there's no wrong answer there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. You know,
Yeah. And then
we
and
get
then you
something out of everything, like every interaction we have, we get something out of. Like
absolutely,
sometimes it's not what we want, but
oh god,
it may
oh
be
no,
what we
oh
need.
no. Well, oh no. Well, sometimes it's just you just need to realize, like again, it's just you need to realize where people around you are at too,
Mhm.
and it's
Exactly.
just it right, and it's like, and then you open the door, and then if they like for so I see someone really wants to say hello. Right? I heard that.
Oh, yeah,
Hey.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, sorry. It was I have a kid who like had a sore throat when he went to school today. So
Ah.
so I just am like it wasn't enough to keep him home, but yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good.
I
It's all
just wanted
good.
to check. We're
No,
good.
no, you get it's,
Yeah.
young how youngest kid?
13.
13.
Eighth, yeah, I have a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old. Yeah. Yeah, I was
Okay.
an older mom. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
like
No, 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 no,
because I
like I
know
said,
people are like probably doing the math, like, wait, you're 51 and you like yes.
I'm 41. I mean, there's part of me that still wants that wants kids, but again, I'm at an interesting age. Like I could still have kids, and it's
Mhm,
entirely a possibility. Like by the time I'm 43, 44, I might
mhm.
have.
Oh,
But yeah, it's entirely a possibility. I'm not. We live longer on average now,
yeah. Mhm,
right? And assuming I take care of myself, and that is again that wise-ish. That's where the ish stuff comes in because I'm still young enough to do stupid shit, right? But assuming I take care of myself, right? I don't know about the whole grandchildren concept, but I mean, you're right at that when you become a later parent. But
Mhm.
the again, you don't look 50, like you look younger. Assuming again you take care, you're like, thank you, thank you. I'm sure there are days you don't feel it, right? As you're right, but
Yeah.
right, right. But I bring it up. I bring it up like that because, um, how do I put this? So you if you take care of yourself, 60s, 70s, like
Mhm.
I've seen some ladies in 70s that are just as dynamic as they were, and I think it's all in how you approach life to
Oh,
some degree too.
I agree. Like, my father-in-law is, he's 80, and he rides with his buddy. They ride bicycles, and his buddy, I think, is older than him, is like 83 or something. They'll they'll do like 25 miles,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
I'm like, meanwhile, my husband and I go bike riding, and I'm like doing 10 miles, and I'm like, I'm done, I'm out. Like, but I mean, like they do it like, and he walks, I don't even know how many miles every morning. He
Mhm.
um he bike rides, like they do it like, about 3 times a week. They'll start to slow down because the weather will start to get too cold for them and icy and stuff. But yeah.
Well, see, they were living up here. They wouldn't let that stop them because I'm in Calgary, Alberta. So right, we
Mm,
just so I saw like the last week on Saturday night, Sunday morning when people when snow was coming down, people were still going on their bikes
yeah,
because
yeah. It's a
it's a
whole
different
different
yeah.
mindset, isn't
Oh,
it?
well, you got no choice up here, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like if you decide I'm going to wait until the snow melts, that could be only 4 months in the year, right? Now it's usually more than that, but yeah, it has happened. I have been a part of it where from like June, July, August, September were the only months with no snow, and
Oh
then
my
and then
gosh.
yeah, yeah, right. But and then October it starts. Like
It
we had our
starts.
and then well, and Calgary is interesting too in the sense that November, December, January, right, or right, you can have weeks with no snow on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have weeks with no snow on the ground. Then you have weeks where there's nothing but
No,
snow, and
yeah.
then you have weeks of some weird hodgepodge middle, and then your head hurts because of all the weather changing going on. It's like, stop doing that to me. Then we usually get 2 really, really cold -40 weeks, and then it kind of breaks. I know it's
Breaks.
strange. It's a strange, strange place. It's pretty though. It's pretty. It's cold, but it's
It's
pretty.
cool. Yeah.
So, um, whereabouts are you? Like, what area
I'm
are you?
outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
okay. That's somebody else I know. So you in that area, so you get the wet cold.
we do. I'm sorry, my doorbell just rang and
I
my dog
know,
is barking.
it's
Sorry.
you're right, if you gotta go, is there someone
No,
there?
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
okay. Sorry. I've had a 3-year-old interrupt the show for 45
Yeah.
minutes. So it's like it's actually part of the show. I actually just sent a clip on my YouTube. The author, he always shows up. He's 3 years old, so he just shows up. And your place in the universe when at 3 years old they run things. And I
Yeah.
realized that that's parenthood in a nutshell, isn't it? Like no matter how old they get, they still run things.
Well, and when they're 3, they're quite the little dictators at 3.
You gotta stand up to them, right? You gotta find your
Well,
inner time. You gotta
you
find
know,
your entertainer a little
it's
bit.
it's interesting because, people always talk about terrible 2s, but it's really the 3s I thought were really they're worse. Oh my god. Okay, someone is I am so sorry.
No, go ahead. Do what you gotta
Okay.
do. Do
Okay,
what you gotta
I'm gonna mute.
I'm very good. I have a big mouth. It's a skill. Ladies and gentlemen, everything just goes in one giant swoop. If anyone's out there who wants to say hi, say hello. It has been a crazy, crazy start to this pod for sure. So nothing normal. So I'm assuming she got mail. That's going to be my bet. Is it's mail? We'll actually ask her. It's like This is my bet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Was it
So,
male?
no, apparently they are repainting the curbs, and there's a van parked right outside of my
Okay.
house, and they wanted to know if it was my van, which it is not.
It's like, oh, okay, we'll find them.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
find them, move
I
them,
mean,
beat them, something.
I think that perhaps they should have notified us that they were painting curbs if they didn't want people to park, but oh well.
Don't the government as an efficient tool of operation is never. I've never seen it. Like
Well,
no,
I don't think it's the government. I think it's the HOA. So
but no, well, it's still like you still if you're going to be dealing with roads, that is government. Governments usually are right on on
not in
small
our
level.
it's our little neighborhood.
Oh, it's
It's
your little, it's another neighborhood. So
yeah.
okay,
So
okay,
it's the
I can't.
HOA who's not
It's
communicating.
big organizations suck at that. I've noticed that. It's just you get farther if you just talk to people. But it's
Yeah,
like you think,
I know, but oh well.
shrug.
Yeah.
But anyway, well,
Sorry for
no,
the interruption.
no,
Of course,
no,
like any other day, like no,
nothing.
nothing, right? The one day that I
So
have something.
I have a theory about chaos. Would you like to hear a little bit about
Sure.
theory? So the theory about chaos I have is that chaos is what makes something authentic. Because if
Mhm.
you were to sit there and think about it, right, it's not if everything feels again, no one necessarily notices when there's nothing in the environment, but in the back of our heads, right? In the back of our heads, we kind of know it's not real. Like in a
Mhm.
vacuum, everything's
Mhm.
happening around us. That all said, a little bit of chaos. I used to do these interviews way back in bars and stuff, and I'd have waitresses come up, take orders, and I'd leave all that stuff in there. And the thing is, people would look at me sometimes like, "Why'd you do that?" It's like, "Well, it's real." Like,
Mhm.
right? Like life is a series of going back to something we said at the beginning. There's lots of things outside of your control. Someone knocking
Right.
on the doorbell is out of your control.
Yep.
Now, in a if I wanted a picture perfect, but I'm not that perfectionist. I've outgrown that a little bit. I
Mhm.
realized that those little bits of chaos actually add to an authentic moment. And if you don't have those moments of chaos, it's not real.
Well, there you go. I just gave you a little bit of authenticity
There you go.
with my dog barking and my doorbell ringing.
That's right. So dog barking, doorbell ringing. So I've been meaning to ask. The last time we talked, you mentioned your rugby series then
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
Did you play?
No. No. So it's so Susan is very much a sports person. She loves sports.
Yeah.
Um, and I like the team aspect of it. Like I really don't I don't want to say I don't care about it, but like I don't care like who like I'm not like, oh, I have to. I mean, now the Phils, when they were in the World Series, yes, I was all like, yes, that's our team. But like I don't follow sports, but I like the team aspect of like I like how teams interact and like, someone on a team, that kind of thing. So I don't even know how Susan and I started talking about, like, I don't even know, I can't remember how we decided on rugby, except for it is such a fun sport to watch.
They're also
um,
and also in my opinion, it's one of the toughest sports. Period.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
Yeah.
mean, so amazing. And so we just decided we would do like it's a recreational league. It's just because we based it off of there is a gay rugby recreational league in Philadelphia. And so we were like, oh, like yeah.
Really?
And there's one in New York and there's one in Baltimore and in DC, I think, because I think they all play together. So yeah, so we were like, oh, well, we'll create a recreational rugby team like they have here in Philadelphia because our books are set in Philadelphia. So yeah, that's how we,
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I just somehow I was amused at the idea of you beating people up and taking their
No,
lunch money,
no.
and there.
Although, you know what? I was the coxswain for a men's eight. Like I went to Temple University. And so my freshman year, I was the coxswain for the freshman men's eight rowing team. And so I got to yell at eight big guys.
And they probably liked it. It's like, yay!
And they had to listen to me. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I
Well,
yelled at them so.
so I have a theory. Let's see if I'm right about this.
Mhm.
Okay. It's not the activity of teams that interest you. It's the interdynamics of teams that interest you.
Yeah. All the interpersonal relationships, all of that. Absolutely. That's what I enjoy.
So I'm gonna stretch it another way, just see how far this goes. So are you as fascinated by like military units, that kind of thing, for similar reasons?
I mean, I suppose I could be like, if Susan said, let's write a military book, I suppose I would be like, sure.
Because there are
Like, yeah,
similarities, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I asked that because that's why I'm asking, because I could see why somebody would be interested, like especially if someone that was a social worker slash counselor
Mhm,
slash what you are. It's like, how does this work together? Why does this work
mhm.
together?
Yeah.
And very often, what I find is team dynamics is probably one of the biggest fundamentals of all sports teams,
Mhm,
period. Because the teams that get along the best tend to do the best on the field, right? And it's a weird combination of, you got to get along, but you got to be disciplined.
mhm,
And that's it. I mean, even if you look at your co-writing stuff that you're co-writing, it's the same thing. You both got to get along,
mhm.
but you both got to be disciplined too. It's the only way it
Exactly.
gets out there.
Yep. Yeah. And it is like, I mean, like Susan and I talk about like I mean, we were critique partners for years. And so like the writing together just kind of happened. It just was like a natural evolution, I suppose. But we talk about it's a little bit like a marriage,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we have to like make these decisions together, and we talk through things, and I mean, and it's all about communication. Like, we are constantly communicating. We meet weekly, and then in the meantime we'll text, and so it really is. Yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is like a marriage.
yeah. So, how long have you two been happily married?
So actually, you know what? It's funny. So we started writing. We decided to do the series during. I guess it was in 2020. We decided like we'll write this because it was during the lockdown and everything. And so so we started writing the series, and we were just going to do 3 books, and we were going to do a quick release in 2021. And so that series actually turned into 6 books in the series, and now we have um oh my God, I'm blanking on the word. I want to say runoff, and that's so not it.
We have
Oh
a
my God,
runoff,
I
ladies and
know.
gentlemen.
I'm like,
A saga,
we have like,
a
oh my God.
series.
We have another. We have a little 3-book series that is, it's still Rugby Guys, but it's not the same series. This is like holidays. Oh my God, I'm totally blanking on the word. Yes, I am a writer, but I can't think of it.
I do words. The words are hard.
I
Math
know.
is hard.
Like,
Right.
oh my God. Anyway, it'll come to me, but yeah. So we, thank you, spinoff. Yes, thank you.
There you go. Anita
Runoff.
Stewart. How you doing,
Thank
Anita?
you.
There you go. And that's why Twitch is awesome, because Twitch gives yourself a
Thank
name.
you.
Because I was a no help to
I know.
you
I'm like,
whatsoever.
runoff. I'm like, what? That's like, oh yeah, spinoff. Thank you. We have a spinoff series that we have 1 book out, and we're releasing the next book. I think in December it'll be out. I can't remember the date. And then we'll have the 3rd one in that spinoff series out January, February, something like that.
So you have become enmeshed in the world of rugby, even though you don't play it
I
or
know, but it's so fun to watch. It really
oh,
is fun to watch. Oh,
they're legitimately like okay. So I put an MMA fighter, or maybe as tougher, and then maybe a ballet dancer.
Oh, ballet, yeah.
No, those people
They
are
are
incredibly
so oh my gosh, yes.
right, right, and then right below that, and this is where you might be able to make a debate is hockey players or rugby players,
I
because
know.
that's a fair debate. Because here's the thing, hockey, it's skating, it's a lot of balance, coordination. You're still hitting. You're playing with a big wet ass stick with a puck,
Yep,
right? That actually hurts when it hits you,
yep.
right? And right versus rugby, which is like playing football, but no
No
padding.
padding.
No, they're legitimately some of the toughest people on the planet.
They oh my
Yeah,
gosh, yeah. And I
yeah.
think it's so much more entertaining than football too, like, because it moves it's such a faster paced game,
It,
and I just
it
think it's so much more fun to watch than football.
I actually agree with you. Like the problem, the thing is, football. If you look at it from a mental, like tactical kind of thing,
Mhm,
it's interesting because
mhm.
there's a lot of tactics going on with each play, each set, whatever. But it's not. It starts, it stops. It starts, it stops. It starts, it stops.
Yeah, it's
Rugby does not
no,
stop ever. I think they only stop when it goes out of bounds. Pretty much. That's
they
pretty much or when a goal
I
is
know,
scored.
and they
And
are
that's it.
so quick. Yeah, it's yeah, it's so
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, an MMA fighter and a dancer slash ballerina
mhm.
might be tougher, and you can make the debate either way on the hockey player. So you can go either way on
Yeah,
that
they're
one.
right there. That would be good, like a ballet dancer and a rugby player. That would be
Oh yeah, no, and I
a
know
good
I like
story.
yeah. So I do have a
Plot
sport.
bunny.
Yeah, there you go, right? I
Yeah.
actually I have a fun story. Like I actually I'm talking about this with a buddy. I had this idea of using like sports teams as undercover agents. So I actually
Oh,
I have literally had this idea called baseball ninjas, right? And
oh,
they're literally ninjas, but they actually just decide to hide in plain sight. So they play baseball around the country, a la the Harlem Globetrotters. Because like you're gonna be entertaining. You might as well have some serious fun and be
yeah,
entertaining,
yeah.
right? So but I also have like an evil football team because there's just the numbers of football
Oh, that
players,
would be
right?
fun.
Right, and evil
Are you writing that?
I'm seeing which way I'm gonna go with it. I have this in my head. I have this in my head. The only sport I make fun of is basketball.
Okay.
That's the story I make fun of because if you look at the NBA, right, some of them like just seem incredibly whiny to me.
Oh.
So I'm like, good eye, all right, right. You look at all these like I don't feel like baseball. Like I don't feel basketball players are very whiny. They just do their thing, right?
Uh-huh.
I feel hockey players same thing. They do their thing. Football players like you can't like even though, like I said, we're rating them, football players are pretty tough. They have to be doing what they do too. They're literally car crashing into each other
Mhm.
every play for hours at a time. And there's a lot of technique to it. I respect that. So these guys are all tough guys that are tending to do their things. And you look at basketball players, they cry about everything. It
Do
seems.
they see, I don't really watch basketball, so I don't even know.
No. It's
Yeah.
so I watch some like when I'm writing and working, I
Yeah.
will watch sports TV. So the big drama stories are always in
In
basketball.
basketball.
Well, they're always there, so that I feel like they would be the drama kings of
Yeah.
yeah, right, yeah, right, and that's it. And nobody would like them around because you're very well paid. You got personality, which is why you get there. But everybody's looking at you. It's like you're a big baby. Like you're just a giant. That's and to any professional basketball player, if you are happening to listen to this, I'm sorry. When I compare you to the other athletes, that's how it feels. I'm not saying you don't have issues like they're great, legit gripes, but man, right? But that's the but again I also recognize too it's the world we're living in. But if you're gonna make fun of something, basketball players just feel like the thing to make fun of. And then maybe I'm a terrible human being for thinking like that, but that's just the way no, the idea would be no, I already have the idea in my head. It's just it'd be a group, it would be a family. It would be
Yeah.
like a family of 8, and they go undercover, and because they're like a Harlem Globetrotter style team, the
Right.
ninth player would always be someone they're helping. They would actually
Oh,
have put
okay.
them in the team. Got what you can see the team dynamics up close and personal, the
Right,
family
right.
dynamics, right up close and personal. And it's also their way of protecting. And the reason they're there is they can protect whoever's there right there from whatever's out there in plain sight.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah.
That
You
makes
need to
sense,
write
right?
that. You need to write that.
Right.
Get going. Come on.
I'm writing a female Parker. I don't know. Like, what do you like to read? Like, when you're not doing your own research, what
Oh,
do you read?
I read anything really. Like, I mean, I read nonfiction, I read like YA, I read romance, I read, I just read whatever.
I'm reading this right now.
What is it? Oh,
I
how is
I
that?
actually interviewed her for the podcast not too long ago. So
Oh.
yeah, she's great. Also, I realized like she's a huge like reading this. She's a huge Beatles fan, like
Oh,
huge.
nice. Nice.
So I know if I ever get her back on the show, the
Yeah.
next time we're just talking Beatles. That's what we're
Beatles.
gonna. No, because I think okay. So other great team dynamic. I think artists and athletes are virtually the same in every way, but one.
Okay.
And this is the difference. You can't always measure an artist's work. The beautiful thing about sports is there's a winner and there's a loser, right?
Right.
And while that seems harsh, the meritocracy of it kind of gives you an idea where people stand.
Mhm.
It's much harder to do that in writing or in art because art is subjective. But
Mhm.
if you look at the tools required to be an athlete, the tools required to be an artist, they're practically the same things.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
You have to be self-motivated, you've gotta be disciplined, I mean, like, you have to have,
you
you've
have to
got,
work
like,
on
that.
techniques. You have to work on
Yeah.
techniques. You have to work on your
Yeah.
craft.
You're
An athlete does the
constantly.
same. An athlete does the
Exactly.
exact same thing. A lot I find like artists will look at an athlete and go, well, they're not doing no, they're doing the exact same thing you are. The only difference is sometimes it's their body, not their mind so
Mhm.
much. But there are things that an artist can take from an athlete and an athlete can take from an artist,
Mhm.
right? Like if you okay, like I'm gonna use the MMA example because it's a simpler one for me because I
Mhm.
don't know that much about sports. So, but the MMA, there's like if you look at a martial art,
Mhm.
there's the technique of the martial art, and then there's
Mhm.
what you bring to it,
Mhm.
their own personal style, right? It's what separates, say, George St. Pierre, who was a former MMA champion,
Okay.
from a guy that's been fighting for years. It's good, but not him. It's that personal style because he has
Mhm.
the discipline. Like it's just levels to it, right? And if you look at it like writing a story or drawing a picture or playing in a band, right? It's you figure out how the notes work. You figure
Right.
out how you figure out the basis of how a story structure works. You tell your story, right? And the first time it's usually a piddling mess because
Mhm.
yay, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the whole of my secret, ladies and gentlemen. I just do shit and then I let it go. But um you go out, you do it, and then you refine it, and then you work on taking the stuff that elevates the and with the difference is the goal with an art piece is creating a
Mhm.
feeling of whatever it is you're feeling, whereas an athlete is playing the win. Again, that's the difference,
Mhm.
right? If I so the artist wins is can I create an emotional response? And the beautiful thing is with an art, then where the advantage is, okay, let's say I'm trying to make you laugh. And then I said make you think of something incredibly profound because comedy can do that.
Right.
I still win. Even though
Right.
I didn't necessarily make you laugh. I made you go, oh, like when I watched the movie The Network, it was originally a comedy. It doesn't make me laugh anymore
Right.
because there's a lot of sad realities and parallels there.
Right.
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 Right. So it's like, and I can't laugh at you anymore. It's too real. But it still creates an emotional
Mhm.
resonance connection. And that's the thing about an artist is if I'm making you feel something, I win. It may not be the thing I want you to feel exactly, but that can be also a benefit. It could be a surprise. It could be better. An athlete's just trying to win. So there's a clear cut measure of success with an
Mhm.
athlete. But again, when you look at that, like that's the difference. In every other way,
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, I
makes
see. Yeah.
it makes sense, right?
It
So
does. Yeah.
yeah, so I just realized that it's just like that's the difference. That is the exact difference. Everything else is if we mock an athlete, we're full of shit. If they mock us, they're full of shit. We're the same coin. That's what we are. We're the exact same coin. But anyway, no, I will. But so the reason I asked is so right now I'm currently working on a. Have you ever read any of the Parker novels, the old school Parker novels?
Oh, no, I have not.
So
So
you
I
know all
need
these.
to.
So okay. Did you ever see Jason Statham's Parker or Mel Gibson's Payback? This is all. This is
No.
all. So it's okay. I'm not up to date on television either. Like
I'm
television, I'm
really
not.
not.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no, no.
know, it's terrible.
No, actually, I think it's actually a blessing in disguise. To be perfectly honest with you, I think it's a blessing in disguise. See, for me,
I would rather
right?
read than watch television.
Well, I'm in that boat too. See, that's why I showed you. See, I do this. I read comics and I do other stuff too, right? What I've realized, and then this is just this is what I've realized is you only have so much time to do so many things. And I look at I I might finish watching The Boys. Like The Boys is good, but I
Mhm,
also read the comic a long time ago. So
mhm.
I read it first, right? There are books and series I'm really into.
Yeah.
And so I say all that like this, where it's like you only have so much time. And I find, and this is just me, television requires the most immediate investment of time. The thing about a book,
Mhm.
yes,
Oh,
excellent.
you see?
There's more than that. Those are the two most recognizable ones. So I created a female version of Parker because I love the idea
Oh,
of. So the idea behind Parker is not necessarily the nicest person you'll meet. He's a thug
yeah.
working for people, but he has a code of honor. There's things he will and
Mhm.
won't do. So like kind of like the old pulpy Conan's, the old school pulp style.
Yeah.
I wanted my own variation. So I go, but what if she was a night witch and her opponents were the evil versions of the Knights of the Round Table?
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm writing right now. Once
Oh,
that's done,
that's awesome.
yeah. I write crazy stuff. Like I have an Alice in Wonderland Greek mythology mashup series.
That's what when we were on the thing, that's what you
Yeah,
had just I think
yeah,
it was just
released.
released. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
I got that going on too. So I got a lot of good, like as you can tell, I have a lot of really fun ideas in my head of stuff I want to write. And
Yeah.
I finished it. I've done some comic book work this year. My first Kickstarter is happening next year. It's called the Stick Figure Revolution. It's about stick figures that revolt against their creator because they're not pretty in this really pretty world. It's kind of left over. It's my Dr. Seuss Golden Storybook. I actually wrote it like a Dr. Seuss book. It broke my brain. It broke my brain a little bit. Actually, Seuss is a genius. Like legit, Seuss is a genius. And I say all this like that because right, I always have good ideas. So the baseball ninja thing is kind of like I want to write the female Parker. I want to write the female Parker thing because I think so my big quote unquote revelation about the pandemic for me is just simply this. I think in general our biggest problem in the world, looking at everything I'm seeing and watching, most people have no idea of their own self-worth.
Mhm.
And if I were to break the world down to just the Western world, I don't know about the Eastern world and the rest, but the Western world, if I were to break it down to one problem to fix and that would fix overall over time, fix everything, it's that one.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is it's interesting because, like again, like I tell my kids, like when, they complain about someone behaving a certain way or whatever, I can just see, I'm like, like that's someone who doesn't have like a lot of self-esteem and is like
Mm-hmm.
feeling bad about themselves, and that's why they're like, that's what this behavior is. Like this behavior is stemming from, it's really not, doesn't have anything to do with anyone else. It has to do with them.
Oh,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I totally get that.
Yeah, and I just realized like it informs our relationships with the world,
Hmm.
uh, and again, I'm not going to talk about parties. To me, I kind of subscribe to George Carlin's illusion of choice concept when it comes to the political system. Um, but what I realize is how we like our leaders, whatever party you go with. If you were to
Hmm.
sit there and like look at it, more often than not, we settle for the fact that do we like these people, not what they
Right.
do, not what they measure. Do we like the person we are voting for?
Mm.
And I realize that's a very shallow relationship with our leadership. And because we have that shallow relationship, it's not a wonder that all these things are happening to us, right?
And I also think it's not able to look at, not I don't know if it's not able to or not willing to look at the bigger picture and
Mhm.
look at it's like, and it's this very like, I want an immediate response, or like, I want an immediate fix. And sometimes the immediate fixes aren't necessarily the best. Like sometimes you have to look at the big picture and say, okay, these
That's a
other
very
things need to happen.
that's what I think the immediate fix concept I think it's probably the most American problem. I've lived in both countries.
Yes,
No, no,
it's
no, 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 no,
very
no.
American.
No, it's a very American way of looking at things, and I say that because I've lived in both countries, so I can look at this honestly. Canadians will tolerate will tolerate a lot more in some ways than Americans will, and that there's a good and a bad that comes with it. I
Well, with everything, right? There's good and bad
yeah.
with everything.
So I like my for example, like we talked about like your little like I remember when I was in Phoenix when like just a simple thing like the cable company screwed up.
Hmm.
Like Canadians are like, no, that's not really a big deal. Americans are like, no, I'm fucking complaining about this
Yeah.
because they get, but there's something to be said about that because okay, the ones on one hand, this is the benefit. You are pointing out immediately that there's a problem and you're setting a boundary what you will and will not accept. The
Hmm.
downside to that, the downside to it is this, right? Not all these like, going back to what you're saying, the bigger picture thing, it's not necessarily fixing the real problem all the
Hmm.
time either. Like again, be personally like the big picture stuff. I look at it from a big picture standpoint. We have a messed up system. Like
Hmm.
Canadians, Americans, both we have a messed up system. Um, so so but again, it's easier to simplify things into like, well, I like this guy, but I don't like this
Yeah.
guy. Even though they may go to the same school, sit in the same boards, do all the things, a lot of things together. It's like you're almost the same person. Oh God, right? And then that's when you need to drink. And but right, but and I say it like that because it's just I think, and again going back to the self worth thing, right? If we had a better relationship with these people and vice versa,
Hmm.
I don't think some of the things that are done to the countries would happen. I think instead it would be a better connection. And so it's
Hmm.
like I know what you need, you know what I need. We work together and find that. I know it's a scary word these days, but compromise.
I know, right? What's
Right?
that?
Yeah. Back in your day,
I
or
don't know
back
what you're talking about. Compromise.
yeah, yes. I'm always right. No. Right. No, but that's the thing, right? I've realized this. So since I've realized this, I realized that the real and again, if I were to trace it back to one thing, it's self-worth.
Hmm.
Because we talk again, we set boundaries for ourselves with people, but those boundaries should include everything. The places we work, the people that lead us, the relationships, the intimate relationships we have, that stuff's important, and building those foundations are what will again one of the reasons certain things are allowed to go a certain way for so long is because ultimately we've tolerated this stuff.
Hmm.
And so if we're tolerating this, what do we truly think about ourselves?
Hmm. Yeah. And I think too, like no one wants to look at like how, again, everyone wants a quick fix. And
Mhm.
the problems that we have, there is no quick fix.
No.
Like they are, and and there is no like, if anyone comes and says like, okay, all we need to do is X, Y, and Z. Well, that is not it, because it's the issues that we have are just so great and so intertwined. Like the systems are intertwined, and it's there is, everything is complicated. It, like any fix is complicated, and no one wants to hear that. No one
A-
wants
a-
to.
a- and no one wants to really look at what's going on, how these things are connected, because
Right,
you
right,
have
because
to
it's like a big knot. Like, it's like a big knot of string, and you've got to try to like untangle
well,
everything.
so I think ultimately I think ultimately, and this is something I've long subscribed to, is we're heading towards some form of decentralization.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only magic question is, how do we get there, right? Because I somehow don't feel you're a video gamer. You might surprise me. You might be able to kick my
I'm not.
ass.
My son is.
So
No,
there's
yeah.
this game. So there's this really simple game, and I kind of think that this is where we're at. It's about you're this snake, and you're eating this, and you're eating like this kibble, and you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and
Mm-hmm.
bigger and bigger. Well, there comes a point where you get so big that one little shot will pop you.
Oh, right. What is this game? I know this game.
I forget what the game's called, but like you might
Yeah,
know what
no,
I'm talking.
I know what game you're talking about.
You,
Oh yeah, I can't think, but yeah, like my kid, I don't think they play it so much anymore, but they used to play it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a simple game.
Yeah.
Right. But that's our system in a nutshell. It's gotten to the point where it's so big and clunky and inefficient that if I blow on it the wrong way, it might malfunction. Like,
Yeah.
right. And that's where we're at. So I think what's going to end up happening is it's like from a point of simplification, efficiency, because me and you are talking what, a few hundred, like a couple thousand miles away right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That speaks to a certain degree of efficiency. Now, I could have called you on the phone, but this was, well, once we got going, this was better. Right.
Theoretically.
So right. So, and I say it like that because I like the issue is, right, if I have a need, I can contact the world now and be provided with answers. And then there's a database. There's 8 billion people on this planet now. There's 8 billion, right? That's an incredible resource that I can tap into all over the world. Assuming we can speak the same language, or at least I know all the good swear words in your language, wherever they might be, we can form a good communication thing, and I can get answers and insights and perspectives that I'll never get at home. That's incredible. So if that's the world we live in, then the way our structures of government are no longer, now they're the giant snake in the video game. One hit from something new and unexpected, and it will no longer be able to handle it. And so we're heading to decentralization. This is why I think we're heading that way. The only question I have is, how do we get there? Right. I hope like there's a inevitability kind of way to it, and then there's like the not so nice way. I somehow get the feeling we're going to do the not so nice way first, but that's the thing. That's kind of why I see it that way, is because again, breaking all these, as you point out, like all these systems are intertwined and interconnected, and fixing those systems individually in some cases are damn near impossible. So
yeah, I mean, because you can't fix one and not affect another.
I mean, yes, no, not especially,
and you can't actually fix one without. You can't, and I say fix. I mean, fix is probably not the well. I mean, you can't change. You can't change one without changing another, and you can't make certain changes to one system without changes to another system occurring. And if those things, like it, again, that's where
especially again when you look at the fact, again, we're not going to go deep, but the fact that there's so much.
I feel like we already have.
we have, but we haven't. Like we haven't talked about like personal beliefs and stuff like that.
No,
yeah, right. And I'm keeping that way very deliberately because I do feel we could agree to disagree, but that's not where we want to go. That's not where this conversation's gone. I don't want to go there. I just think that ultimately, and it's up here too. It's the fact that our corporate structures, our government structures, and all those structures are now kind of married. And I think
they always have been. I think.
Yeah. I think they're a lot more intertwined now than they were, say, 40 years ago, right? And they're a lot more intertwined. I think that, like, my own personal thing is you want to kind of separate like the various giant states of power. You want to kind of break them up, but you can't do that easily. So if you can't do that, you can't do that very easily. So if you can't do it easily, the only other solution is come up with a simplified form of power. And I think that's, again, the fact that we have these tools today. I mean, it creates different possibilities of what community could be. And I think that's a good, like, We can go back to shallower waters now, before if you want from here, if that's what you
No, no,
read.
yeah, no, and like as you're talking, I was like thinking, like I just read. Have you read the book *Sapiens*?
No, I have not.
So it's like a really interesting um, book because he talks about like how, and I can't think of the author's name right now, but he talks about how like like all of these constructs are things that we as Homo sapiens have, like it's because of our imagination we've created these things, like like the construct of like government, of religion, of money, like it's just all it's things that we have all kind of agreed to, like we as human beings have agreed to, like, okay, yes, we're all believing in this, like we're all believing in money and like a government, and we believe in these constructs, and so it's just, I don't know, I was like thinking about that and thinking like you would probably enjoy that book.
No, I would. No,
it's really interesting because, and it's interesting, and he talks about like at the end, it's kind of like things could go a couple different ways, and
well, no,
not so great, and
well, no, I just think we're at that. I think we're at that point, though.
Mhm.
I think we're
I
ready for a.
agree.
I
Yeah,
think
I
we're
think
at. I
we're
think it's
kind of at a crossroads.
yeah, because like I mentioned earlier, like the economy is about to go tits up, right, and that's the actions of governments, not just yours, mine. It's all these governments. So how long before we all just say one day we don't want to live like this anymore? And if we all say that, then where do we go from there? Right? And like a lot of people have these wonderful ideas of what that might look like, right? But again, none of us all necessarily have the same ideas of what that looks like either, right? So what I could see happening is, because we have enough people, enough ideas, enough different ways, I could see it all just diverge into a whole bunch of different things. We might in about 5 years, everybody might be experimenting with different ways of living. I think that's actually a kind of a cool thought, all things considered.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It will definitely be interesting to see what happens.
This is how I can come up with baseball ninjas, by the way. Same thing. There's like I can think in these big concepts, like, okay, what if I have some fun here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it works. But going back to, let's go like, so you guys just finished your series or writing a book, right?
Yeah.
So are you going to pick another sport?
Yeah, so we also have a hockey series that will I think we've actually written the first in the series for the hockey series. We wrote that a while ago, and I think we'll edit it, and I think that comes out in March of 2023. I don't know. I don't have my calendar, so I'm trying to remember
No.
these dates.
It's all good. Just
Trying to
talking.
remember all these dates. And yeah, so then we'll have we have a series. That will be 3 books. And then yeah, right. That's what we said before. And then we are going to write very tropey Christmas 3-book series that will be out in 2023, like November and December.
So here's the thing. I love. I actually, when I was younger, it's like when you start, right? You're like, I'm gonna break the mold. I've actually now I've gotten to that point where it's like, no. I'm going to embrace the mold. Yeah. Right. Because I think it's actually more fun to play with people's expectations in ways like you give them what they want, but not in a way they could possibly imagine. I think it's actually more fun to do that than to try to do something unexpected. Right. So, and also I should ask this. Are you a Hallmark movie fan? I'm going to ask this up front.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I feel really bad saying this. I am not. I cannot stand the Hallmark movies.
No, it's okay. No.
But so because I write romance, so like that's like almost like it's almost like a sin. I'm like, I cannot. And there are people who just love him, and I can't do it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask this: is there a romance author you really do enjoy reading?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there are a ton of romance authors. My favorite is Penny Reed. I love her. I love
Okay,
all her stuff.
okay, okay.
I read every single thing she's ever written. I love her
So
stuff.
I'll just go like this then. This is make you feel better about this, okay?
Mhm.
So just imagine that each romance author is a flavor of ice cream.
Yeah. Oh no,
There,
I mean, when I say I feel bad, I say it like tongue in cheek. I mean, I know because it's,
yeah, I'm just saying, like Hallmark is a very specific flavor of ice cream,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
and
here's
it's
the
not
thing.
my flavor.
No, it's not your
It's
flavor, and
not
you
my
know what?
flavor.
And you know what? That's fine. You know, the best thing I can say about this is what I say about Hallmark. I say this as a compliment. They know who they are. They don't try to
Oh,
be anything else.
no,
And you know
yeah.
what? More power to them. You know,
Exactly.
it works,
Yep.
right? It works.
Yep.
Don't knock the ice cream flavor you're making if it works. And if there are people that don't like it, hey, that's okay too. You know what?
Mhm.
They have their own flavors, right? Right.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
for you,
There are so many people who love Hallmark, and I'm just like every year I'm like, I just don't get it. I can't.
because I think for you, I'm gonna make a guess.
Mhm.
I don't see you as much of a nostalgia person.
No,
No, but that's the thing. But you're not, right?
I'm
Hallmark
not.
Hall, Hallmark hits that escapism to some degree, and since you're not really a nostalgia person to begin with,
Yeah.
it's just not you, right?
Yeah,
And
and it's very it's very, yeah, like, you can watch one and then, you watch the next one and, like, you can hit the beats on exactly what's gonna happen when, and,
yeah,
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 yeah, it's not my thing, but, it's
it's
a
okay.
lot of people's thing and they love it and that's great, but
Yeah, well, no,
not my thing.
I know it's okay. Like like I said, I had this, and maybe again, is this is possibly brain damage. I will acknowledge this up front. I woke up one day and I realized something like, you know what? I get why people do pop songs. I get why people do Hallmark
Mhm,
movies. I get why people do. They're comfortable and they're familiar. And if that's who you, and I realized something like we all try to when we start doing this, we're going to make a statement that nobody else can make. But if you really sit there and think about that, that's true.
mhm,
I can't tell a Chantal Mer story.
mhm.
Your rugby team and my rugby team would probably be some kind of secret
Very
agent
different.
somewhere,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Right? Actually, my rugby team would be like the end boss. They would make the football clan look like just giant wimps, and I'm just keeping that in the back of my head for the future, right? But I say it like that, right? Because, um, right. The thing is, you learn very early. Like once you find your voice,
Mhm.
the trappings don't matter. If anything, you can use those trappings to help. So if I am a pop song, Vanilla Ice, one hit wonder, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
That right. I'm
Yeah.
just okay. I'm okay with that. If I've also come up with my own unique little bit of crazy that people enjoy, I'm okay being that flavor of ice cream too. And
Mhm.
like it's about being happy in the place you're at, wherever
Right.
you are.
Yeah, and again, like you said, like like art is subjective too. So like you're not gonna please everyone. So
Well, oh no,
you just you just find your people. You find your people, and
and that's it. You find your people, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Hey, I write cool stuff for you," and they're like,
yeah,
"Yay, ice cream!"
yeah,
Right? Right? And that's all there is to it.
yeah.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite? So I'm going to ask two more questions, and we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Okay.
What's your favorite Christmas carol?
Oh,
Or is it not your thing either?
no. So you know what my favorite Christmas carol is? Oh, this probably tells so much about me.
It's okay.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. This probably speaks volumes.
See, okay. I
Which
have a
I
lot.
guess really isn't a carol, but that's my favorite.
It's fun. Like
Yeah.
no. Here's the thing. Like if you look at that moment, it's like in the cartoon, right?
Mhm.
Especially the Grinch is looking at you the whole time they're doing this. You just like,
I know. I
and
love
that's the
it.
best. No, it's fantastic. He's like, yeah. So what if I'm this? Right?
I know.
I'm good with it. And there's just something
I love it.
deliciously
I know.
honest And a little bit means, look, bad guys are fun. Like bad
They
guys are
are.
they're legitimately fun because you get to like bring out all these like little like quirks about you and express them in oddly a very healthy way, actually. It's like, you know
Yeah.
what? I do have these monstrous tendencies, but I'm doing it here where it's not so bad, right? And the reason I bring all that up like that is, well, if you that also, I mean, I've also noticed this too, and I say this from interviewing the heavy metal bands I interview
Mhm.
here. Some of them go like the most intense stuff you'll ever hear. Then when they're off, when they're done, it's like, I'm so happy. Like they're actually some of the
Yeah.
sweetest people you meet
Yeah.
too. So maybe there's two parts for you. Maybe it's just the fact that since you're like you enjoy the Grinch stuff, you
I
just enjoy
do. I love
you revel in the meanness. You let it out, and then you're right when it's over. You're like, I'm so happy. I feel good.
I know.
Why are you crying? But no, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's
I
all good.
love Grinch.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So, are any of your Christmas Carol books are they gonna have a Grinch in
They,
them?
yeah, well, they should. I mean, we haven't like plotted those out. We're plotting them later. So, but I do think like we've kind of talked about it a little bit. And I'm sorry, my daughter just came home. We have
Hi,
talked about,
Chantal's daughter.
we have talked about it a little bit. And there is one who, yeah, is not really very into Christmas. So
So
he might be
so
a
so
little gritchy.
so if there's a scene where they're just wrecking shit, I'll just know that's
Yeah,
you. That's
yeah,
you.
you'll know I wrote him.
Yeah,
That's me.
it's like she's just wrecking shit.
I know.
So, Miss Chantal, what do you think? Do you think we have an interview here? You,
Whatever you think.
um, I feel like we've had some fun. We had a good like fun little
Yeah, it was. It
conversation.
was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and not maybe your typical interview. Right. So I just we kind of went everywhere. We talked about how to fix the world, and then we also talked about rugby, and athletes and
And
the different.
ended with the Grinch. So I mean, there you go.
Yeah. I think that's.
What can you do?
I mean, we could talk about ice cream, but I have to. I mean, there has to be a sequel at some point. Would you like to come back at some point down the
I would
road?
love to. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
So, what came out recently then for you? Like, what was your last release?
So we just released Savor, which is the first book in the spin-off series. Thank you to who is that? A.F. Stewart.
That
Thank
is
you.
Anita Stewart.
Thank you, Anita.
So here's the thing. I will say this. I'm going to say the nicest thing about Anita possible. She writes about a lot of murder. Somehow I feel you two would get along.
Oh,
Fantastically.
awesome.
Yeah, fantastically.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like totally blanked. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like what
Yeah.
is the word?
And also legit, she's one of the sweetest people you ever meet too. She's actually fantastic. So
Oh,
just
that's
so
awesome.
yeah, so legit. I have fun with the murder thing, but she's actually no, she's a talented writer. She works her ass off. I honestly somebody worth following and mentioning. So there you go.
Oh, awesome.
So
I'll have to
Saber
look her
came
up.
out.
Yeah, so Savor came out last month, I think.
Congrats.
Yeah. And like I said, we're working on the what's the next one? Seduce is the next one that will come out in beginning of December, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So which way do you want to do this? Since the beginning of December is 3 weeks away, this will air in 2 weeks as an audio. Do you want to do like an elevator pitch about your newest release, and then where people can find you, kind of deal? We should promote some
Yeah.
some
Let's
shit
do.
here.
Well, you know what? Let's do Savor because I don't know. I mean, I can't remember when Seduce is supposed to come out, and we're still
Okay.
wrapping it up.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this we're going to talk about. There may be a second book by the time this airs, but for now, we're going to talk about the first one in the series. Take it away.
Which is Savor, and Savor is actually it's a they're rugby guys. So it's an age gap. So there's Penn, who is 25 years old, and Anderson, who's 41, I think. But also it's kind of a second chance, not second chance of it's finding love after grief. Anderson is a widower. So it's just this sweet story that starts at Halloween and runs through the holidays. It's part of this Season of Love series that we're writing, and so it's these 3 books will all be during the same holiday season. And they're just sweet. Susan and I loved writing Anderson and Penn, and they're sweet and lovable. And
so Savor's out right now.
Savor's out right
everywhere?
now. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. And if people want to talk to you after this conversation, you survived me for over an hour. So I mean, where can
we survived
find
each other?
Okay. So where can people find you?
So you can find me at chantalmer.com. And then, on Facebook and Instagram, again, Chantal Mer. On Twitter, I'm I think it's Mer_Chantal, although I'm not really on Twitter that much because Twitter moves too fast for me. I can't.
So
I'm a processor. People are I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's weird. Again, another conversation for another day. I'm not sure. I'm trying Mastodon out right now.
Oh, are you? How is that?
I just started. So I'll ask me in about 2 weeks. The idea of a decentralized servers to meet people.
Yeah.
Obviously, after this conversation, would appeal to someone like me, right?
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Right? Yeah, you're right. Would appeal to someone like me. I'm not worried about the privacy stuff because, again, the same thing I've learned about this life is if I'm not saying I have not done stupid shit on my chats. I have, right? But the reality of the situation is you guys got to assume that all these companies will look at your stuff somewhere on there. So, right. We've all done our fair degree of stupid. That's just who we are as human beings. I've done it. So it's just so I'm not worried about them reading. That's the big thing about Mastodons. If they can read your messages, they all can read your messages.
Yeah.
They have to, because if there's a police event, it's hey, there's a domestic disturbance, they can actually look at your histories and figure shit out. Right. So that's just reality. So I don't know, what I don't know in terms of a content thing, where it goes. I'll have to play with it a little bit more. It feels like Twitter in the sense that it does have the ability to do the scrolling thing. On the other hand, and I'm still kind of playing with the interface right now, I feel like you have more choice of what you can see and not. And it comes with some good and some bad. The thing I love about Twitter is actually one of the best ways to keep updated with news. It's the best way. It's actually literally the best way. It's better than the news because you can actually watch things minute to minute. That's what I love about Twitter. What I hate about Twitter, it's funny. Again, another conversation for another day. But the other thing I've noticed about Elon Musk since he's taken over, I've seen way more bots on my. I think the irony of the situation is, he bitched about bots, and now I'm seeing more bots now than I ever did pre him. There's some things I've liked about it. There's some things I've hated about it. But I've noticed my biggest hate on Twitter right now is there's a lot more of these bots that used to be there before. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that other than it is what it is. Right. It is what it is. I'm trying Mastodon because the truth is, if I could get away from both Facebook and Twitter, I would. I would.
Yeah.
I like Instagram because Instagram's kind of fun. I like it's kind
of visual. Fun. I'm a visual person, so Instagram's my favorite because
it's hard. It's harder to screw up Instagram than it is to screw it. It's harder. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's harder, right? And so I like Instagram. I'm not crazy about Facebook anymore. That's another discussion for another day.
That's another.
That's another discussion for another day. But to everybody watching, everybody listening, Chantal Mer, she is awesome. We finally got going. We finally got going. Great conversation. I hope to have her back. Maybe I'll bring her partner in crime on next time.
Oh my gosh, yes, Susan, so much. She's fantastic.
Yeah, I said you answered. She did not. So I haven't. So
she is fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll do partner in crime. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, that will do it. I got another. I'm going to be a guest on somebody else's show. We're talking football tonight. Actually.
Oh, are you? You're talking football.
No, it's no, because it's like I said, one of the things doing a show like this is you
Yeah.
become very well versed in everything because just
Yeah.
everybody you meet, right? So I can have a conversation about the state of the world, and at the same, like for us, it was state of the world and romance and
Right.
athletes, and like we
Yeah,
went all over the place,
we
right?
did.
Right. So I do the same thing with everybody else. We just go all over the place. So one gentleman, he's a comic book dude. I'm going to be drawing on his show. I draw on my show
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
too, right? But we'll talk about the state of the world and football at the server because he's finally got a winning team, potential team that could win it all.
Ah.
Yeah. So it's just not. It's not. How do I put this? So I'm open. So when we made predictions at the beginning of the season, some of them I looked like a genius, and some of them I looked like absolutely terrible. And we're going to talk about that tonight. So that's what's going to happen tonight.
Oh,
And
fun.
yeah, and then tomorrow I have another comic book due with a Kickstarter coming up a little bit later than we started today, and go from there. For
Awesome.
for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay
Thanks.
inspired. Just keep shining in the dark, and I'll see you tomorrow.